Welcome to the Dr. Leadership Podcast, where the DR stands for Driving Results. Our focus is weekly conversations around life and business relationships and the important leadership qualities for both. These concepts and qualities will help you drive positive results in both your business and personal lives. A weekly connection point to help business leaders develop individual contributors, managers, and executives on your teams. We also will tie in concepts around family focus and life lessons to help you drive success in your personal life. Welcome to the Dr. Leadership Show. Let's get after it. Hey everybody, welcome to the Dr. Leadership Show. The doctor is in. Hey, another week in the books here. First of all, big launch happened here a few weeks ago. Actually last week, episode 6 is what we're talking about today. The first 5 dropped on the 26th of October. Lots of good fanfare and lots of good feedback coming. But I just want to say thanks to everybody for getting engaged. I want to continue on. The last couple of weeks, we've talked about accountability. And a couple of weeks before that, we talked about communication. And what you'll notice is I'm trying to tie some of these concepts together. And I said a couple episodes ago, I'll return to these as more context and more content kind of comes, the fruit comes to ripeness to bring some more ideas to you, because it isn't 2 pages in a book or a chapter in a book that allows you to be great at something. It's checking on it over and over again and coming back and reaffirming. But what I really want to talk about this week is to follow up on accountability is self-development. In this new world we're in, development, specifically self-development, honing skills, etc., is much different than it was a few years ago, pre-pandemic. We're all in disparate locations. We don't have the offices lined up any longer where you can by association learn. Trainings are difficult to put together. My teams are all over the country, all different states, cities, airplane rides away from each other. You may have a team like that too. Doesn't matter what in life you're doing, how we develop our people and how we as individual contributors, managers, leaders, executives develop is more on us than it ever has been before. Everything is changing very, very fast. Change is inevitable. Change is good. It's going faster than it's ever gone before. I'm going to give you a statistic here, and remember that 75% of all statistics are made up, including that one. Old saying, but this one is absolutely true at this moment in time. Actually, as of last Sunday, when I did the research on this piece, because it's changing. I've used this line before. Hopefully you all know what the Library of Congress is. If you don't, shame on you, but the Library of Congress is the largest library in the world that contains hundreds of millions of pieces of information. When I say a piece of information, it's periodicals, it's recordings, it's images, it's videos, it's books, it's magazines, it's artifacts, it's everything under the sun. And the Library of Congress was not founded when the country was. It wasn't long after that we started collecting items, historical perspectives. But let's say it took 240 years to fill the thing up with as much data as in it today. And again, it is like 50 million images, 50 million videos, 25 million songs, 30 million albums, all the periodicals, all the different pieces of information you could possibly think of, records, concepts, etc., all the way back to the George Washington era and forward. It took 240 years for this analogy, or this compare, we'll use that number of years, to fill that thing up. I'll tell you how fast information and change is going and development of new solutions is happening. If you take all of that data that's in Library of Congress, and it's numbers that you can't even describe. It's like 30 zeros to the right of a 1 with 10 commas. Quadruples, metazillion. I can't even remember the names of the words. the numbers, so large. You can't even fathom it, right? It's like how many gallons are in the ocean. That's how much data we're talking about. That amount of data moves across the internet in today's world every 1.6 minutes. You think things are changing fast now? Fasten the safety belts. Prepare for liftoff. It's not going to get slower. It's going to get faster. What we are selling today will not be what we're selling or servicing 2 years from now, right? Remember, it took us several thousands of years to put a plane in the air for 30 seconds, 10 feet off the ground. It only took us another 66 years to put somebody on the moon. It is going exponentially fast, and it's not going to get any slower. So self-development and continuous development are key. I use a lot of sports analogies, and I'm going to use several today. When we're talking about how change is coming at us, I don't ever want you to talk to me about what we did. I want you to talk about what we'll be doing. Because did is looking back, and change has impacted that already. You've got to be looking at the horizon, not the hood of the car or the tail of the car in the rearview mirror. To be successful, you've got to be looking well in advance and personally driving yourself to that goal. Wayne Gretzky, top 20 greatest hockey players ever. There's all sorts of arguments there, depending on what team you're with, what city you live in and grew up in. But Gretzky had a great comment about why he was so good in hockey. He said, "I don't skate where the puck is. I skate where the puck is going." He had vision of the ice. He could see the opening that would be there for him to get a clean shot on goal, and he would skate to the open spot. He didn't hover. You go to the, I can remember basketball games and football game, flag football games and things like that, soccer with young kids. You go, and if there's, each team has 10 players, there's 20 people standing over the ball and 40 legs just kicking at the same ball. Everybody's where the puck is. Not a lot of vision in a 6-year-old soccer player. We as professionals need to hone our skills and understand that self-development is the key to driving the ultimate success that you're after. It's not going to come to you easily. Warren Buffett, I think everybody probably knows Warren, owner of Berkshire Hathaway, right? Founder of it. He's pretty successful, one of the top 10 richest people in the world, and wealth is not always the prize for success. I don't want anybody to confuse that. But when you're a financial investor, wealth is a pretty good sign on if you're good or not. And he's worth tens and tens and tens and tens and tens of billions. And there was a great article in Inc. magazine last week that I think you should go check out. And it asked Warren just for some, and he's great at quotes and commentary. Great statements. Seldom even a comma in them. A lot of times one sentence. But in that Inc. article, Warren Buffett said the number one investment in the world is in yourself. And what he means by that is whatever you decide you want to do, spend the time and invest in yourself to be the greatest you can be at that. There are limitations in certain things. Not everybody's born 7 foot and could be the greatest center in basketball. Not everybody's born with the speed of Usain Bolt. I get that. But the 7-footer and Mr. Bolt were not the best in their crafts just simply because they were born with some of the physical gifts too. They practiced and practiced and practiced. Walter Payton was very inspirational to me growing up. He was the running back for the Chicago Bears from the mid-'70s through the mid to slightly later 80s. And he was never surrounded by the greatest other players. But he was always one of the top running backs every year. Might have been, if there were 30 teams, he might have had the 28th best line, but he'd be in the top 5 results for running backs every year. His nickname was Sweetness. I lived in Chicago for several years. He had a Lamborghini, and the license plate said Sweetness. He could pull that off because he was one of the best. He had put in the time to do this, right? So Walter would go to practice for 3 hours a day to learn what he needed to practice when he got home. So he would go to practice, run the laps, run the plays, full contact, not, depending on the day of the week. Then he'd go home to his home, and he'd run up and down the hill in his backyard to work on his endurance. Then he'd run more cones. Then he'd do hands drills. Then he'd lift more weights. That's how you become the best at anything. And I'm not picking on today's younger people with my next comments here, but a lot of what we've done in rearing kids over the last 30 years or 40 years that's changed is we have kind of set this expectation that it's just going to come to you. We've helicopter parent over our kids and protected them from learning lessons that you don't get a win every time. There are winners and there are losers in all aspects of life. To be successful, you've got to be willing to put in the time. Had a great conversation. We call them Leadership Lounge conversations. Check out our subscription capabilities at www.drleadershipresults.com. On our website, click on subscriptions, and you can get into some members' content. And every week we upload a conversation with leaders of all aspects of life, as well as getting early release access to the upcoming podcasts and some other great content, and that'll be built out over time. But we download these great conversations. And I had an awesome conversation with Kevin Johnson, the owner of Accurate Development, a large commercial and residential developer in the Midwest. And he hugely successful. His dad was in construction, commercial construction years ago. And I had asked him who was inspirational to him and what did you learn? And he mentioned his father was very important to him. And he said, his dad said that the first 40 hours of the week are to stay even with the competition. From 40 to 80 hours is where you make the money and make a difference. Now, I'm not saying everybody needs to work 80 hours. One of the nice things about this remote work and post-pandemic, if there's a glimmery spot at all, is work-life balance has probably been moved in a good direction. I think it's moved too much in one direction because we've got a whole lot of people now not willing to work and not willing to put in the time and think things are just going to keep coming to them. But it has impacts on us, positive and negative. So I'm not saying work 80 hours, but I am saying you got to work harder than the others that are in the game if you want to be the best at whatever skill it is you do. Continuous improvement happens for everybody. Quick story I tell to my salespeople over the years. If you're looking at a lumberjack or a lumberjane, right, what is their most important tool? And 99 out of 100 times the response is going to be their axe. No, it's not the axe. It's the sharpening stone. A dull axe doesn't fall trees. Razor sharp axes fall trees. And after you make 100 chops, you got to stop and sharpen it. Then you can make another 100 strokes that are effective. Same thing holds true in anything else. The sharpening stone is your self-development capabilities. What are you doing yourself? Marketing launches products, but marketing is not responsible for honing the skills to get you out in front of customers or prospects and make you the winner. Marketing can provide training, but that's a lot of times one and done. Now we're in disparate locations. I got people all over the country, right? Different states, different cities. We can't get together like we used to. We don't go into an office every day where you can learn through association. You can go spend time in front of whatever it is you move as a product. So we have to hone our skills. Doctors, first responders, they have to do continuing ed their entire life. They don't get to work from home. They worked harder the last 2.5 years than anyone. But I know this, I want the best doctor available. When I go in and see, Dr. Sue, I want her to be as educated and as self-motivated and as determined to be the best as possible. Somebody's cutting my chest open or my, working on eyes, ears, throat, whatever. I want them to be as skilled as possible. So nothing great comes without sacrifices. There's an old great statement. You go in and you do the training, and everyone is high-fiving. This is going to be awesome. This product or this service is great. Marketing's convinced me that it's a difference maker. It's going to make our company second to none. And then they walk out of the room and go back to what they were doing. Again, I don't want you to do what we did. I want you to do what we will be doing, and that's looking forward. So the old analogy or the old statement is, lots of people are raring to go, but not many can go for raring. And it's all about, they talk a good game, they're easily fired up, but when they go out, they don't take control of their own destiny and go after it and attack it and make sure they hone that skill, right? Think of the animal kingdom. Mother lions, mother cougars, wildcats, whatever. They teach bears, they teach their young the skills to survive. And then those young are set free in a short period of time, and they have to hone the skills or they die. These are not life and death decisions, but these are career-defining yay or nay moments where you have to be good at your skill set to be successful. My wife is very inspirational to me. I love her more than the air I breathe. She was an All-American basketball player. Top 25 girls in the country, in the United States, coming out of high school. Top 25. She played at camps with the members of the Olympic team that's won gold the last 3 Olympics. She's older than them, slightly. She's younger than I am. But she was absolutely awesome. She was not born with those skill sets. A couple of things happened that drove her to be this good. One is, neighborhood she grew up in, there weren't a lot of other little girls. There just weren't. She had an older brother that she looked up to and wanted to aspire to be. Everyone looks at their older siblings. I look at my older siblings and wish I could be half as good as they are, right? So to be able to play in the neighborhood, she had to play with the boys, and she had to play at that level, and they were 3 years older, and they didn't cut any slack. They used all 5 fouls on her. Toughened her up, right? Life is not easy. But she honed her skills. When the boys quit playing, so she could play better the next time, she kept shooting. She was offered hundreds of scholarships. She could have played anywhere in the country. And it's because she practiced and honed her skill. UConn offered her. UConn. Tennessee, Pat Summitt offered her. Vanderbilt, Iowa, Iowa State, Indiana, the list goes on and on and on. She honed her skills. She was a better baseball player, but they wouldn't let her continue in baseball because of concerns by the community of getting hurt, whatever. She played tackle football. She's all lady. I mean, she's absolutely stunning. But she handles her work environment the same way. She hones her skills, does not take no for an answer, and drives through the finish line every single day. And that's what it takes. And in this world, as a leader, you need to come up with ways in which to drive development. But you also, as an individual contributor, as a leader, as a manager, as an executive, your success is dependent on no one else but you. No one owes us anything in life, right? You may think you're special. My mom says this. You aren't special to anybody but me. Everywhere else, you're just one of the billions out there. You are not special. If you want to shine, you've got to work yourself to that level. As a leader, one thing you can do when we talk about developing teams and knowledge base around services and products is don't take all those, we talk about monkeys all the time, right? Somebody comes in with a problem, it's a monkey on your back, and they want you to take care of it. Same thing, hey, will you go on this call with me? I'm not comfortable with this product or solution yet. That's BS. What you need to do is when someone comes and says, I got an appointment on Friday, it's Tuesday, I'd like you to go on the appointment with me. Turn around and say, listen, what I'd like you to do is we're going to do a team training on Thursday on that service, and I'm looking forward to what you deliver to the team around it. That's how you drive people to engage in self-development. Salespeople, sales leaders, athletes, people that are at the highest levels of whatever they do in the world are ego-driven in some manner, and they will do anything to avoid failing in front of their peers. And it's an easy tactic and approach to drive expertise on your team. If you've got 4 or 5 very important services, create a leader of the team around those services. Empower them with, I can't wait to see your training to the team on that service next week. And then the next week you do another service with another individual contributor. Push it on to them. It's no one's fault besides your own. No one's responsible for your success except yourself. I talked about Warren Buffett earlier, right? Invest in yourself. He said in that article, every day go to bed a little better. It's small increments. It doesn't come at once. When my wife was 10, she wasn't able to nail the 18-foot three-pointers. By the time when she was playing Division I ball, she shot at 45% of them. That's very good for all of you if you don't know it. She also shot 89% from the free throw line lifetime. Practice makes perfect. Technology moves really, really fast. Information moves really, really fast. What we utilize for services today. I didn't have a cell phone the first 15 years of my career. Now I can't leave home without it because it runs everything in my life. I said earlier, took us, thousands of years to get a plane off the ground 20 feet and to fly for 20, 30 seconds. 65 years later, we put people on the moon. It's fast. So make sure you dial in and get those skills honed in yourself. It's no one else's job. What are you doing to engage the new opportunity? There's this wonderful thing called Google, right? Or DuckDuckGo.com. 1.6 minutes, all of the Library of Congress is moving on the internet. You can find information on your own around a service that you are trying to sell or around the new product, who it can be used by, what the value statements are. And remember, the person you're calling on typically doesn't know as much about the product and service as you do. There are no mistakes. Take notes. Write some cheat sheets and pull it out in front of them. It's okay. Guess what? I use notes in this on my podcast. I don't just come in here and freewheel it. I'm referencing my notes. It's okay. And then you learn. We're a CCM, or a Customer Communication Management Technology company. That's one of our multiple services. We're a multi-billion-dollar organization. And a lot of people in my organization look to me as the CCM expert. I wasn't gifted with it at birth. It wasn't anything that we didn't sell. It was something we didn't sell, 6 years ago. But I got engaged in a very, very large opportunity. And through watching other people that were experts in the field, be it the developers of the actual solution themselves, our professional services, smart people, by being in the room, paying attention, I learned a little bit each day. And over 5 years, it became a lot of information. You have to be driven, self-motivated. It's not anyone else's problem. Don't play victim. Woe is me. I don't understand it. I'm not going to call anybody because I'm not comfortable. Get comfortable. Embrace what you hate. Step at the plate and take a cut at the ball. If it doesn't go well, remember the lesson, move on. Tell you something funny about practice. So when I first got in this business, I traded in a Z28 for my Astro van so I could deliver my own copiers. I was a door-to-door copier sales guy, 100% commission. Sexy. Every night, my then girlfriend, I would bring a Mita DC1255 desktop copier home and do 4 or 5 demonstrations of 10 minutes each to her on the feature, function, or feature advantage benefit statements of the Mita DC1255. Roaring speed of 12 images per minute, only did one side, didn't have reduction enlargement on a zoom lens, just had 3 presets. This was simplistic in our world today. The reason I brought it home every night to demo tour was because the next morning at 8 a.m., the owner of the company was waiting for me to demonstrate the product to him. And until I could sell him, I could not take it to the field to sell to others. He set expectations on me. I was not going to fail in front of my peers because also when I was doing the demonstration, the sales reps that had been there for years got to sit and watch me too. Sweaty. That can be nerve-wracking. But you know what? I got really, really good at it. So now fast forward 3 months, and I'm taking a Mita DC 2254, 22 pages per minute. Sits on a stand. Got to carry the stand in the Astro van too. Take it into CE Electric. George was the manager. Ran the whole state. Had several offices. I've been calling on George for 3 months, and he said, "Okay, you can bring something in, and we'll do a demonstration, and I'll give it consideration. I'm gonna look at other people, but you come on in, and you give a demonstration, and we'll try it for a while." So I come in. I set up the Mita DC 2254. Go through my feature function benefit statements. He has all the staff in there. He has accounting. He has project management. He has the parts desk. There's 15 people there. Now, this is when we suit and tied up every day. I got wingtips on. I got my nice suit on, white shirt, sporty looking tie. Go through the demonstration. Things are going great. And in the middle of the demonstration, this also shows my ability to adapt. The out of toner light comes on. And I say, "I'm glad that happened." I wasn't, but you got to think on your feet. I'm glad that happened. Now I can show you the ease of changing toner on the Mita DC 2254. That's how I used to handle paper jams too. I'm glad it jammed. Now I can show you how easy it is to clear that paper misfeed with the clamshell design of the Mita DC 2254 copier. Your hands won't even get dirty, and you're back and operational in minutes. Isn't that great? I mean, this is going back. This is 30 years ago, 32 years ago. So the toner light comes on. I've got an audience of 15, semicircle around me, 24-year-old, sweating underneath the suit, but I've done a great demo. The toner light comes on. How you changed the toner in these days was you'd take a slide-on lid off of the new toner cartridge that was still sealed with plastic. You would slide that plastic lid underneath the old toner cartridge in the system, slide it out onto the plastic lid, set it aside, throw it in the garbage, whatever, put the new cartridge in, then wind a little windy thing that would pull the plastic off the bottom. The toner would dump in the system and you're back up and operational. The only challenge is that the toner light had come on simply because the toner cartridge had a bunch of toner still packed up in the top. It had just quit dropping toner down in the hopper. So I swing away from the unit after I put the new toner in it, and I start to say, "See how easy that was?" And the lid slides off because it wasn't put on appropriately by this young rep. And a mushroom cloud of black toner engulfs the room. Poof. No kidding. Everybody's coughing. I've got toner dust everywhere. Everybody steps back 10 feet. Oh, my goodness. And I turn to George and I go, "George, I will clean this up. I am terribly sorry. Evidently, it was caked in the top and it wasn't out of toner. Why don't you go ahead and get your vacuum for me and I can start practicing for my new career," because I wasn't going to be able to sell copiers anymore because I just ruined this carpet. And I was going to have a new career, be the Kirby copier sales guy or the Hoover copier sales or vacuum sales guy. And George gets me the vacuum and he says, "Hey, when you're done, come in and see me." So I sat there and I vacuumed all that toner up over the next 45 minutes, and I got it all up and out. It looked okay. This was not a pristine office to begin with, thank goodness. And everybody was like, "Hey, man, sorry, good job, guys, great demo, sorry that happened." And I had rocked the demo because I'd practiced. Now, I'm facing adversity. I get done, I go into George. I sit down, I say, "George, would you like me to go get my cart and take this thing out and just get on down the road?" And he goes, "No, I want you to go get the paperwork." I said, "What?" He goes, "Son, you had me sold about 5 minutes into that demo. I can tell you're really taking this career seriously, and it was awesome. You had me sold." My assistant who runs this office turned to me and said, "She wants that unit." We were in the second row back, but she goes, this is a nice unit. He's doing a good job. I like this kid. He goes, and then, poof, the toner goes everywhere. And you know what? You didn't panic. You had a little fun with it. Everyone felt sorry for you, but everyone knew that it was just a simple accident. You held it stoically, right? You stood your ground, and you took it on. And I want you to go get the paperwork because I'm buying that copier. I'm not letting the other guys and gals come in with their products because I want to do business with somebody that tries to practice and takes it seriously. And I can tell you want to be successful, and I'm going to help you be successful. He was my customer for the next 5.5 years in that with that company. He bought 15 pieces of equipment from me, mailing equipment, fax machines, copiers for all his locations. But it was practice and honing skills and able to handle adversity and be able to take on a bad situation in front of others that allowed me to be chosen that day to do that. I felt really good about it after I felt really, really terrible. But again, this is all about you and yours taking on the training and the development of the skills to be good at whatever craft it is you're doing. Doctor, lawyer, copier sales lady, physician, dentist, the trades. You got to be good. To be the best welder and to be hired for welding, you got to be better than the other welders. You can take 2 carpenters, put them in the room with all the same raw materials, and one's going to come out with a product that is superior to the other because they've honed their skills. No one owes you anything. Your company owes you the support and the capacity to deliver whatever that solution is that you might be selling as an individual contributor. But they don't owe you to handhold you to go out in the market and drive it. They will empower you with pieces, but then it's up to you to hone the skills. It's about accountability to yourself. It's about self-development, and you got to embrace it. The first 40 hours of the week are to keep equal with your competition. From 40 to 60 or 80 hours is when you make your money and you separate from the others. Again, Kevin Johnson over on www.drleadership.results.com in the subscription section. Great conversation about how he differentiates himself. Better product, better service, outworked people. Would not take no for an answer, and here he is 34 years later as the number 1 developer in the central part of the state. You got to put in it what you want out of it. So that's what I have for today. I'm proud of all of you because I know you're going to chase your dreams. But most importantly, I want you to remember this. You're awesome. Keep that shit up.